And hello, sports fans. Welcome to another rendition of No Filter Sports. I'm your host, Brian 3SL. My co host, Kiki, is somewhere in Atlantis. That's it. Atlantis for her. Uh, she's somewhere out and about. So she'll, if she's able to come in, great. Not, we'll catch her next month because she is a busy, busy woman. But do catch her on Real Talk No Censored every Monday here on Beltway Radio and beyond. And at their newest time, 8 p.m. So don't miss that because they're not in the mornings anymore. So they're not here to brighten up your day. They're going to brighten up your night. So with her and Tone. So anyway, in the meantime, I do have very interesting guest with me today. We've done some things in the past with my old show of Fantasy Sports News and World Report. She's been on the show on that program, so I bring her back. And actually, the thing that we're going to be talking about is about fandom and people coming back into that because she's coming back to be a Raven fan, and she is an author. She is an inspirational speaker and things of that nature. So I'll let her talk more about that. Miss Kanika Dunson. Kanika, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for this introduction. I am so excited
Yes.
to be on the show, and thank you for welcoming me back officially to Ravens Nation.
Yes.
Ravens Nation, if you were out there, yes. The Super Bowl, we didn't get there. The AFC Championship, it wasn't what we wanted.
Yes.
But we are back. I am back as reigning Queen Emeritus of Ravens Nation, and we're going to keep a positive spirit, and we are going to win. I've got many people channeling Baby Reed. This is Brian and I'll talk later about this. This is actually our child.
Mm-hmm.
He was born in a Ravens game. Right.
I may have to tell my mom that when I finally gave her a grandchild.
We got Ed Reed. We've got in the back, I've got Ray Lewis. See the little figurine? I need to pull him up. Got a football signed by Harbaugh and Flacco. Raven spirit is in the house. So thank you, Brian, because I have had heart attacks. Almost. I've needed a defibrillator after Ravens games, but since they didn't make the Super Bowl, I was going to retire. If they did, because I said at 3 Super Bowls, I can retire. But since they didn't, I said, I am back and I am in it to win it.
Okay.
So thank you for having me on the show.
Yes, we're getting more because that's mainly our topic that we're going to get into. But first off, did you even catch this year's Super Bowl? Let's say I ask you that question.
Well, my Super Bowl would have featured Lamar Jackson. Since my Super Bowl didn't happen, I can honestly care less. But I'm sure glad. I mean, so Patrick Mahomes, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea. Okay, I had enough. Taylor Swift, fine. I had enough of all of that. Don't begrudge them. They won fair and square, I guess. But I think that what I caught was the pregame show, which I thought was great. And the halftime show. I didn't need to watch the Chiefs or the other team either. So no, I did hear that it was riveting. I also could care less. But I did enjoy the halftime show. What did you think of the game?
I was there. I was kind of like you. I could care less. It just kind of reminded me about 4 years ago because that was the last time the Chiefs and the Niners faced each other. And it was like a game where I felt like, okay, I'm just here for the halftime show. And then the halftime show was Jennifer Lopez and Shakira. And I was, at the time, was amazed how that show was. And then coming to here, it's like kind of the same thing. It's like, I'm just here for the halftime show. I was just totally not invested in this Super Bowl. Because again, just not with the same factor of the Ravens not making it because, the Ravens lost to the Chiefs in the AFC title game, but just how it ended, how that was, and the more information coming about the refereeing and things of that nature, it just deterred me. So I just felt like even though it went into overtime, the second Super Bowl overtime in history, and I just felt like I looked at it, was like, this is wrestling. It's like it was all set up for the Chiefs to win. It's like the Niners had the pin, but the Chiefs kicked out, and then the Chiefs, take it home and did their finishing move, and it was over. And I just was like, okay. And I didn't normally I would stick around to see the trophy presentation and all that stuff. I was like, nope. I just like tuned to something else, waited for until I was like, I ended up watching something else after that. I could care less.
Okay.
It was to me, it just, I don't know. I don't like the fact that we just got out of a dynasty. Meaning the New England Patriots dynasty, and somehow we're quickly into another one. Mind you, I was happy for the Chiefs winning in Super Bowl 54. It was like, hey, first time winning in 40 years, great. All right, for 50 years, I'm sorry. That's great. I'm happy for him. And Andy Reid finally got a Super Bowl win. All right, great. Good. All right, now let's get to our team. We're ready. We got two-time NFL MVP now. We get a chance. And then we get this. We get Chiefs winning, being in 4 Super Bowl, winning 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. And it's like, oh, great. So another dynasty we have to deal with. And like you, I was not a fan of the Taylor Swift thing. I counted. Literally, this was the most entertaining thing for me in the Super Bowl. I counted how many times CBS went to the suite where Taylor Swift was. And I counted 10 times.
Okay.
And I was like, are you serious? And I saw the shots with her and Travis Kelce's brother, Jason. I saw shots with her and Ice Spice. I saw her by herself. I'm like, you gave her more time to shine. And you only gave Beyonce and Jay-Z one shot when they were introducing the fact, oh, we got all the celebrities here. But no, you kept going to Taylor Swift all that time. It's like, I've never known any known player with their girlfriend or wife getting that much airtime in any playoff game whatsoever. Just none. You probably see her once in a ceremonial sense.
Yeah.
Like, the guy's retiring or he's getting a ring or whatever, that's fine. But 10 times, like, Jesus, please.
Yeah, apparently though it was the ratings bonanza, and it's been the whole season. Like once their relationship started becoming a thing in public, to read that the NFL could attribute $330 million more because of Taylor Swift, like in terms of, I guess, products sold, Chiefs. I don't know if and the Chiefs jerseys that are popular. My cousin was in Washington, D.C. one weekend, and she noticed a lot of young ladies walking around with Chief jerseys. And she thought to herself, are the Chiefs playing this weekend? So then she looked and she's like, they're not. What it was that young ladies are just wearing Chiefs jerseys now. Like that is new revenue for the NFL. So you got to think, like, I had no idea the phenomenon. I did not really realize the phenomenon that Taylor Swift was. And so now you've got the football world and this pop superstar hero that brings a lot of community with her fans. The NFL, you got more people watching. They said, I think this is the highest rated game. I guess there are more humans than have ever been in ever that, plus more people tuned in. So I still would have tuned in if it was Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh and everybody else. But I wasn't interested. But yeah, it was the ratings bonanza apparently.
Yeah.
And it was almost like this storybook ending, if there was one. Not for me, but if you're just like the NFL and you're like, you've got this charismatic Kelce, who he appears to be. He's in commercials. He has that crossover appeal. Then you have this billionaire pop star who acts like every woman, even though she's a billionaire. You know what I mean? And she's there wearing jerseys like any other fan. Think about this. A lot of girls, like wives that are women that are very fabulous, they come with their long hair and their stilettos and this. Not Taylor Swift. She comes in fan gear. Think about that. Like, you think, how many wives do you see? A lot of them look really fabulous.
Yeah,
right. She comes showing up like a fan, a super fan. So that I can see why the cameras are on her. I wasn't interested. Of the Ravens.
All right.
However, I get it. I wanted the Ravens, but I get it.
Yeah. Speaking of fan gear, I think there's a positive outlook from this, because one of the games that Taylor Swift was watching, she wore this very unique jacket, and it had Travis Kelce like cut up jersey. It was all cut up and made the form into a jacket, and it was made by former Raven. I'm going to say that, even though now he's a Niner, Mike Krzyzewski's wife.
Yep, I
And
saw that.
yeah, so, and surprisingly enough, towards the end of the season, the NFL gave her a license deal to where she can fully create any jacket under the NFL brand. So I give praise to that. So I'll give again, Taylor Swift, for helping a young businesswoman out, and expanding her brand, because I've seen some of her jackets, and it's very stylish, very unique, and I think it's going to be great for business for her as well. But in the end, I just feel like, I know like a lot of Taylor Swift fans came in to watch Taylor Swift and the Chiefs.
Right.
I just feel like, and I just feel like you said, it's a storybook ending, but not in the way of a lot of fans would like. I just felt like, especially the Buffalo game, when they beat the Buffalo Bills, I just felt like, again, many shots to Taylor. And it's, to me, was like, this was the Bills' opportune chance to take him out, because this was the first Chiefs game under Patrick Mahomes to play on the road. And you guys were playing, again, this up and down team throughout your entire time that Josh Allen has been your quarterback, and you can't beat these guys at home. I just could not understand that. But then, like I said, the issues I've already mentioned about the Ravens and the Chiefs game, to me, again, it just felt like the NFL wanted this relationship to continue up until the Super Bowl. Now, how it's going to be next year will be interesting. But it's like you mentioned, with that added financial boost, we'll go into this, is the NFL recently mentioned the fact that they've increased their salary cap to extra $30 million. And initially, normally, like by this time, a lot of the teams will be thinking about, already there's a list of free agents being out there, most notably like Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, that are fully available now. And as for our team, the Ravens, we're in the process of losing Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. But now with this added boost or bonus to the salary cap, I look at it as like, because in addition to those two guys, we may on the verge of losing Patrick Queen, and I think it's like, now with this boost, I think it's like, we could keep him and a couple other people. So I'm going to ask you this, as now as you're slowly coming back, how do you feel about this added bonus that may help the Ravens and any other team to get some very quality players for the next season?
Now, I don't know all the details in terms of whose contract, who is going to be a sought after free agent. All I can say is thinking about to the Ravens after they won the Super Bowl with Flacco, right? And I remember Anquan Boldin was on that team. I loved the team. And so then afterwards, now you have to let a lot of people go. Like things moved around. And even running up to that, there were like linebackers who really stood out. So then they were attractive. They went to other teams. What I hope for the Ravens is that this year felt like, I felt this coming into the playoffs, because they started talking about, you would hear the analysts say, teams are looking at this coach. They're looking at this coordinator. So I kind of felt like, man, this is the time, like to win, because now things are going to change. The defensive coordinator, of course, is already gone. And so then you have this thing with the players, that the team really seemed to have a lot of like chemistry. Not just that they won well, but they also seem to all have this kind of great chemistry. And I think Harbaugh's talked about that. And I think other players have mentioned it. And so what I hope is that they're able to retain the people that they need. They had a great team, but not lose too many pieces so that it's like a new bunch. You know, like that the nucleus of what they need stays in there. Because that's what I hope for the Ravens. I think the Ravens philosophy, you do see it, like the next man up philosophy, that they expect everyone to play like a Raven. And so I think that players who've left the team talk about how they like being a part of the Ravens organization. So I do think even if things do move around, I do feel like they're going to hire, they seem to do well with getting the right people in place to come into that nucleus again. So Harbaugh he was also nominated for Coach of the Year. That he's been very adaptable. Like a Baltimore Sun article, some other article talked about like him just being able to stay with adaptability and molding the pieces and everyone. So I think whatever happens, Eric DeCosta, I mean, they're gonna get what they need. And I just, they're gonna get what they need. I believe it. Like I'm back, baby Reed this year. I got the spirit of Ray Lewis over here, and John Harbaugh signed this football, and I think that I do think they're going to get what they need. I think that it's going to be different, and I think but we're going to need the Ravens fans. Not just they got to stay on the bandwagon.
Right,
you got to stay on the joy wagon. I know we're not going to talk about mental health of fans later. You can't stress yourself out. Can't get negative. It was sad after the AFC Championship. Like I was like, it was a bummer. Yeah. It was a bummer. And then it's like, but it's more of a bummer for the players. You know what I mean? And then like, even Flowers, like, like he was upset, like he's thinking, like having had so many games where he broke out and you're like, you can attack this play and that play, and then for it to end like that. But I like how Lamar Jackson was like, you learn from it. I mean, after a while, he was able to see, you learn, this is part of it, you come back. So you got to stay with the long game. And I fully believe that they will be positioned to win. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. I want to take that, what you said earlier about the Ravens after their last Super Bowl, where they had to let go a lot of players. Mind you, Ray Lewis had to retire. He was retiring. They let go Ed Reed. Even though they had Terrell Suggs still there, but a lot of key essential players had to be let go based off of the salary cap that they had.
Yeah,
I feel the same thing can be said for this. This year was, after this year, it was like nerve-wracking to hear that we may lose a lot of key players, and especially those who were nominated to be All Pro, not just Pro Bowl, but All Pro. And I felt like, we got to find the numbers, we got to find ways to do this, do that. I think with this added bonus now, this or bump up or whatever you want to call it, with the salary cap, I do agree. I think Eric Dukakis will find ways to keep the essential guys that made this run right. And because I know full well most of these guys were like, they said let's say this, many players who've come to be a Raven always said they love the organization. They always said that they want to be, they always like playing here and things like that, even after they leave. And some, even if it was just a year, they're just like, I just don't want to leave. One of the new guys, Van Oy, he says like, this is the best organization he's ever been in.
Wow.
And he literally said he hope he can stay. He wants to stay. And I think most of these guys, I can tell they want to, they felt like, again, going back to a wrestling reference, right now there's a wrestler by the name of Cody Rhodes. He says he needs to finish his story. And his story is to try to win the WWE Universal title against Roman Reigns, who's the cousin of The Rock. And that's what this is to me. This is like the Ravens need to finish their story. I felt like, because with most of these guys, I can tell in their faces, you saw in their faces, they want to stay. Yeah. And I remember a post-game interview, not an interview, but post-game locker room clip. Odell Beckham Jr. said, this is the best locker room he's been in his entire career. And hearing that is like, that's a guy, even 4 years, want to sign him 4 years, that's great. So I feel like now I really think the NFL for, I've been watching the NFL for a very long time, and I do remember the years where you see most of these teams have stayed with this team for like a good decade. And even though with some minor changes here with like free agency or drafts and all that stuff, but pretty much the nucleus stays for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
But in recent years, especially in this last, let's say 20 years with the salary cap and stuff, most of these guys, the only people who stay for a good long time are roughly the quarterbacks, of course. And occasionally you may have a top receiver here, or top running back here, a top lineman, offense or defensive wise. But you don't, as for a nucleus, no, they do not stay for a very long time. So I hopefully I'm not fully giving it to Taylor Swift's credit, but hopefully, seeing this added bump to the salary cap, and hopefully it'll continue on, helps the fact of keeping teams having their nucleus stay intact to make themselves continue to be competitive, and instead of trying to rebuild and reconfigure everything every year. So it's a good idea. Like I said, this is a good thing, and hopefully, everybody, not just the Ravens, but everybody can find ways to build from the nucleus, because it is a tough task to try to let go key players that help you to get great at this moment in time. And then if you have to redo it again, it's like, it's like starting all over again. So, which is kind of unfortunate. You kind of question how the Patriots did it during their title runs, even though it is like they were able to get certain guys for cheap, because that's the key thing. But they always let go certain players at certain point in their careers, and it figures like, okay, they're especially like the rookie contracts, they'll end it after 4 years. It's like, okay, we can't afford them, we'll let them go. Keep in mind, a lot of people keep forgetting this. Tom Brady was going to be let go. Tom Brady, everyone forget that, because this was after their third Super Bowl win.
Okay.
And keep in mind, Bill Belichick, he's the GM, not only the coach, but he's also the GM.
I didn't know.
So he decided that the fact that, hey, after this, we're letting him go, and he was going to give Garoppolo to be his quarterback. And if it wasn't for Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, he says, no, we want to keep him. He's good. We want to keep him. So Kraft had to finagle his way to keep Tom Brady in, but based off his salary cap and all that stuff, he was able to keep Tom Brady. And in addition, going into after his second to last contract, he renegotiated his deal, got him for a lot less because he wanted to stay. But until it got to the point where, towards the end of the last 2 years of his career, Patriots says, no, we need time to move on, which they did, and let him go, which is fine. So there's a point in time it's a rarity to have, again, someone like Tom Brady. I don't know why I keep putting him out there like that, but I hate his ass. But
he's going to be back on the airwaves. He's going to be.
That's a whole nother story, another day and time. But the point is, I know, I just felt like that example of, you do keep a quarterback for a consistent basis,
right,
in this salary cap era that for that long amount of time is kind of rare. Usually it's like the quarterback will always get the highest salary after their rookie contract if they do very well. And in the end, it's like, okay, do we keep them or we don't? But again, it depends on how their finances are and how the GM feels, or the coaches feel. So, but like I said, with it nowadays, I think hopefully with this going in next season, I hope a good nucleus sticks around. So we'll see. Right. Before we get into our main topic, I wanted people to know about you.
Okay.
And first we'll start with, like I said, you're an author, and you're sort of like an inspirational speaker. So tell me more about.
I am highly inspirational.
Highly inspirational. Yes.
Let's not. I'm not sort of. So thank you. I am an author. Here's my book. You see my name down here. Sacred and Overflowing, a 30-day devotion to the woman God called you to be. I am a woman of faith, and I am a woman that believes in putting your talents and your soul and your faith in the service to what God has put you here, and all that you can do to be a blessing first to you to fully receive the blessing and own and understand the blessing that you are, but also to deploy that and to be in service in whatever way you are called for people around you, wherever, whether that's business, family, motherhood, community, whatever that is. And so this book is all about finding your own journey. I think a lot of times women and men too. It's just my space is clearly anchored in the space of women. You go through changes and you think, how do I lean into my faith, whatever that is, so that it becomes authentic and real? And that one thing I experienced as a Christian woman is that sometimes you learn about faith as though it lives outside of you. It's the Bible. It's a set of rules. And there can be a struggle with that. There are things to learn, but then there's a space where you understand your soul, your own connection with God, and go through the journey of life in totality. And so this book is about finding, honoring your own journey, embracing that. And I've heard that from women ranges of ages from 40 to 65, which surprised me, such a big age range, that when they were leaning into a space of just their own reflection, maybe a transition, it was just a space for them to come back and reflect, because the power of it is to put you in the same space as your communion with God and to find that faith journey and go through the entire thing. So it's 30 days. It's uplifting. It centers you. And if you're a football fan, you're saying, what does the world have to do with me? If you need to get through a journey of praying for your team, this is for you. So whether or not, whatever it is, if there are women in your life, please, you can go to Amazon or KanakaDunson.com. But yes, please check me out. But no, and I think that, it's really important, I think, to lean into what matters. And I think that religion and faith, really, your own, can be a real source of personal peace, personal strength, personal healing. But I think when you really can connect with it authentically, it can be an empowering source of what fuels you in your life. Because I think that we embrace I know we embrace the fullness of who we are. Not just what we do, but just in our souls. And when we let our souls lead the way and we're connected with it, we're unstoppable, which is why I was also Ravens reigning fan, Queen Emeritus, because I was unstoppable as well in many ways. And so I have prayed to God even about games, including football. And I thought the Ravens were going to win the Super Bowl. And then after the game, I said, God, after the AFC Championship, I said, what happened? He said, I didn't say when. So I thought in my prayer times, everybody thanks God, even just for being present, not for the win or the loss, but yes, you have the vision of what you want. Said, hey, maybe not this year, but it's coming. Stay on the journey. Stay on the journey.
You and I, we went to Ravens camp many moons ago, and we got the chance to meet John Harbaugh. We got the chance to, tour the castle, as they say.
Yes.
And I never fully was acknowledged John Harbaugh's faith. I just viewed him as just the true football coach. But thanks for the the Baltimore Ravens, they put out these clips every week. And especially when it comes to the locker rooms, post-game locker room stuff, and seeing him, I think for whatever reason is like his faith has fueled this team even more.
Yeah,
through the years. Because like I said initially, mind you, he knew coming in it was Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis was the preacher man, but then once he left, it seemed like he took that mantle, and and then seeing that embrace into and implementing into everybody through the years, and especially this team this year. For you, how do you see that in any, for whether not just football but in sports, and how faith inspires people in whatever aspect?
I think that's a great question. And I think that, like, picking up on that, on Harbaugh, because I like to watch the Ravens production. But I think it's Evan Washburn, does the show. I love watching that. And they showed a clip of Harbaugh after the game, and he was like down, like on his knee, like like, and he
not
was,
the dancing, not him dancing crazy.
Yeah,
no.
the dancing one was, oh my gosh. I was like, why is he 10 plus years older than me and he can dance better? I was like, let me stretch, let me get my knees in better condition. Because I said I got to be dancing at least as good as Harbs. But like the thing about the faith, he did this thing. He said, God is good. Let me say it one more time. And you could see that people were enjoying it. And it was fun, and they had just won. But that's when I noticed it. I was like, you know what? This is real. And even after the AFC, and I'm not that I doubted that it was real, but it's such a genuine part of who he is. But it seems that it's an invitation for other people in. It doesn't seem like this is the way you need to be or anything like that. And after the AFC Championship game, he had the Bible. He read out a quote, right? A piece of scripture. He said, I'm saying that for me. And you could really get that he needed to just anchor himself. And it just seems to be so powerful. I'm going to go all the way back to Ray Lewis. And I'm coming all the way through your question. Years ago, I was, because, when I was a crazy Ravens fan and I would almost have heart attacks and stuff. But like, one of my friends was like, Ray Lewis is the spiritual leader of the NFL. And I was like, that was a funny thing to say, right? But Ray Lewis was so intent. And he always was very dialed in. And it was almost like with that faith intensity, because you're believing in something bigger than you. You also know that God put you here for a purpose. And in this purpose, football is one of the things you're doing. But it's also unifying. There's love of your brothers, the people that you're with. So it's such a powerful invitation. When the Ravens were on their Super Bowl run, 2 years before, because we talked about this, 2 years before they won the Super Bowl, Ray Lewis said he knew they would win. Now, they didn't win that season, but he was certain. He had that certainty of faith. He said, we can do this. And he could see it. Now, that year, they didn't win. I remember Jared Johnson was on the team, and I think they lost the AFC Championship in New England, right? But 2 years before, and then the next year, they did win the Super Bowl. And so he had that certainty of faith. And that's the thing, that it's not just that things go right in the moment, but that you have that certainty deep down in your soul of what you're doing. But what's so captivating, I think, in the space of a team is that even Harbaugh talked about it. He's coaching a team of men. He's honoring their talents, who they are. It's different than coaching college. With Ray Lewis, if that was his strength, to be that spiritual leader, that anchor, that force of the team, he let that flourish. And there was one time where Flacco said it was funny. He said sometimes before the game, he said, I don't even know what Ray Lewis is saying.
Right.
But it sounds good. And everybody's into it. So now you don't even know what he's saying. But Ray Lewis had that certainty. And so now pulling it forward, you said how Harbaugh has that. I think Harbaugh's place, I feel it. He seems to have such a genuine, these are not his words, this is what I see. He is this genuine spiritual love that comes through for everybody that you see, the players. And it's just a way that I think is genuine. And I think his faith is rooted in belief and integrity and love. And it just comes through. And we're going to get through this journey. Like, even if you don't win or lose, it's important who you are and being connected. And I think that comes through in his faith. And that could be, I didn't think about this till you said it, one of the things that feels good in an organization. When you get to have that kind of energy and that commitment to win, and you can show up and be yourself, I mean, that's a winning formula. So I definitely think faith is a big importance. I mean, it's a huge thing, but it's also how that faith comes out. But I definitely saw that in Harbaugh this year, and more so than I noticed before, and I think that, it's really exciting, and it's exciting and it feels good. And you think about players that these people, a lot of people will know each other for the rest of their lives. I mean, these are bonds that are forged, and it's a great thing. It makes me excited. I want to buy my season tickets now. I'm so excited.
Well, actually, this is a good segue. We talked about the spirit. Now let's talk about the body, because you plan to come back to Ravens flock, and because you left for reasons. There were reasons. Like you said. I mentioned the fact during that Super Bowl run we had, you mentioned, you texted me, it's like, oh, my heart, my mind, you sweating and all that stuff. And surprisingly enough, this is not just you. A lot of fans, surprisingly enough, have these ailments, I would say, really? That when it comes to watching their sports teams. So I everyone thinks this is a joke, but really, I looked it up on the medical health in Harvard, the Harvard General. So actually, the Harvard Health Publishing, just to be properly correct. And this was written by Dr. Robert Schmerling, Schmerling. He said this, and this is some of the points that he highlighted here. He said this: older studies have linked hospital admissions for heart failure and cardiac arrest while watching a sporting event.
Wow.
In a 2017 study, they found that spectators of a Montreal Canadiens game experienced a doubling of their heart rate during games. The effect was more pronounced for live games than televised games. That means people who watch it at the stadium and stuff like that. But even the latter experience led to faster heart rates, similar to the effects of moderate exercise. So pretty much we're watching intensely through our TVs, and we're figuring it's like, will they do what played and stuff like that. Then the most recently, in a 2022 study, they found that hospital admissions for cardiovascular problems jumped 15% during and just after watching the World Cup, the 2022 World Cup games. So I know I'm an intense fan at times. If you saw the video on Cyprian Bolding, he's a good friend of mine. We were watching, actually, the way he showed me the recording of what happened between the ending of the Ravens game, and I was like seeing, the kickoff return or the punt return touchdown.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I said, "Yeah, like, that's great." I was all intense and all that stuff, and then I said, "Okay, let's get back to get back to work." But afterwards, I did feel like all that energy, seeing him move and yelling and screaming and hollering, and it's like it's an intense rush. There's a rush to it, which I get, but I do also understand the fact of when you are so invested into a team. I understand the fact of like, okay, getting upset, getting heated about certain calls and stuff like that. When I was younger, I'll never forget this, and this is in honor to Lefty Giselle, who passed away over a week ago. I remember in 1986, and Maryland Terrapins were in the ACC title game against Duke. And I hate Duke. And again, I was younger. So at this time, watching it, you really don't think about your health when you're young. But I got pissed off because there were bad calls and calls that didn't make sense. And I remember breaking my pen. I had a pen. And I broke it in half. And I was like, this is like your typical big pen. These are supposed to be strong and durable. I just broke it because I was so upset. So I can understand that anger building, rage coming into you. As you get older, mind you, you sort of like, I've seen the intensity rage increase for not just for myself, but also for a lot of other people. Like, after the Super Bowl, this past Super Bowl, I remember seeing a video of a guy who was a Niners fan destroyed his entire TV in front of his friends and family. And his friends, he was so upset, and he's telling his friends, "Get out," because they were Chiefs fans, and they were all laughing, but it's like,
it's not
he
funny.
gets upset.
Right.
So I understand how watching sports, gets you upset, inspires you in faith-wise, but also gets you rowdy and upset and passionate and things of that nature, no matter what sport it is. Either it's baseball, tennis, hockey, whatever. But health-wise, I don't think as fans we concern ourselves with that because of the fact that it's like we put our soul into the team, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
So the question I'm going to ask you is are you willing to go through that again since you plan to come back?
The answer is yes. And here's why. Because I retired. Now, I didn't retire for health reasons, but I was having heart palpitations. And there are some seasons where I have literally watched every single play. In real time. Like, I was just so focused in the game. And I retired after after they won a Super Bowl with Flacco. And then I was in and out. So I was in and out. And then each year, like they kept pulling me back in. I kept pulling me back in. And then this year I was in, right? And so then I said, okay, I'm in. And I noticed myself getting invested. I noticed myself after they lost to Cleveland. I didn't feel great later. Like I noticed that my mood was like, oh man. And then you have to listen to all the Ravens fans acting like they're so apoplectic. They're like, oh my gosh, can you believe it? And then I was like, wait a minute, is their record 8-3? Like, what is everyone complaining about? You know what I mean? So it's like, so then it's all the negative energy. The fans are like, I can't believe it. And so I noticed that I felt bad, but I was going to retire because I was so invested that I wanted to just be free, see the Super Bowl champ, and then like I'm retired. I was even going to like give away like stuff like this lovely scarf. See, I was so lovely. I was going to give it to I was going to go through a grand exit tour and give my prized Ravens gear to like inspiring fans and say, you take it forward. But I decided to stay. And I said, you have to stay differently because you have to just be in it. And you have to have that equilibrium. I learned that from my yoga teacher. Like there has to be an equilibrium. There's wins and there are losses, but that's what sport is. And so then the journey is in the joy, enjoy it, have fun. But in the down times, it just is what it is. If you have a Ravens fan, like you're my Ravens partner, right? Remember when the Ravens when they lost games, I would call you so I could feel better after the game. I said, what do you think? I literally needed therapeutic Raven support. So this is how we're going to do it. Have a friend. Imagine after the game and the Ravens lose, just say, okay, come on, hugs for everyone. Just hug it out. Find a friendly Ravens fan that you want to hug. Just say, I need a hug. So hug it out after the game. Talk to someone about it's not so bad. This is why we're going to get through this. So I think it's just being different because I do understand the investment. Like I'm not joking. Like I felt my heart going, this. I mean, I felt intense. I have yelled at someone making fun of me after a game. So I had those moments where, and like literally it made me question whether or not we should be friends because I don't think it's funny that my team loses and you think it's funny. And that's like me not getting a job and you're going, that's funny. That's not funny.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm invested. So whether or not I'm invested. I'm going to get back to the health, but this rule, that 49ers fan, he needs to listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. Okay. Do not invite the enemy to your house. Okay.
Right.
That was your house. Now, unless they had paid you to be there, then you'd have had the money to buy yourself a new TV. So what you do not like, if I'm in Ravens mode, seriously, I'm not inviting people. I'm not sitting around with Steelers fans. Like that's not fun to me. You know what I mean? That's not fun. So I think though, so I'm sorry for him because I do understand and I'm sorry for his TV. And if they were his real friends, they would pitch in to buy him a TV or give him $5. And we're like, man, we shouldn't have laughed at you. We're sorry. Here's $5, hopefully, or a bagel or a coffee. Let's be friends again. Hopefully that worked out because but I think that the health part, people do get in bad moods. I've heard people that say they're in a bad mood from if the team loses Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, before the bad mood wears off. That's not uncommon. So you got to have the equilibrium. And just like the players, think about this. After the Cleveland game, this last season for the Ravens, they lost on Sunday, but they had to play on Thursday, right? So they had to, even though I was bummed, they didn't have the option to just stay bummed. You got to shake it off. You got to come back to practice and you got to play on Thursday, just a few days later. And then they went on to win that game. So I think if the players can be in it and shift their mental, their space, you got to be able to shake it off and just stay committed to the journey, which is you're in it to win it. You win, you grow, you learn, you're closer, you lose, you learn from it. And, and you keep it moving. But I think that's the way that I'm going to be healthy. And, just like Taylor Swift, move over Taylor Swift. She's a billionaire, but she's not me. Okay. So here's the thing. What I'm going to do is she did inspire me though. Like I'm going to come to the games. I'm like going to go to like thrift stores and get Raven stuff, right? Like gear and make a grand kimono of like sewn together of Ravens fabric. It's going to be fabulous. And I'm going to stride through M&T Bank and say, hello. And sure people will look at me like, what is wrong with that woman? Who is she talking to? It does not matter. But I'm going to, hello, I am back. And I'm going to sit there and cheer us to victory. But I think you're right. People do, I think people can get very intense because you're emotionally invested, but I do think it's important to just keep the equilibrium, let it go. If the players have to let it go and move on, so can you. And just get your therapeutic friend like Brian. Hey, because didn't I call you like after every loss?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do. And also hug it out. You got a lovely Ravens fan you want to hug that's cuddly. Hug it out. You know what I'm saying? That's what you do. That's how we get through this.
Yes, I agree with all. Those are perfect remedies. Those are real good remedies. I'm gonna, let's say, for my journey, I've kind of gotten to the point where with every Ravens loss, I sort of like tune out the rest of the week until mainly like not the rest of the week, but rest of Sunday until maybe the Sunday night game because there's nothing else on television. So, but I kind of like sort of like think like an NFL player.
Okay.
Like you said, with that Browns loss, and I felt like I was like, okay, I had to muddle through it and all that stuff. And everyone asked me was, especially I work with a Steeler fan, and one person said, and I work with, he asked me this, like, I mentioned the fact, like, you guys lost to the Browns. How did you lose that? And it was like, well, you gave that away. And it's like, not really, because I said the Browns kind of fought back. Ravens didn't really give it away. The other two games they did, but this one they didn't. So technically this is their first loss. So like a joke, it was like, yeah, technically this was their first loss because the other two games they should have won those properly. So and I think at the time was like, yeah, we should have been undefeated by now. So, and he looked at me crazy. The guy's like, what are you saying? But really the point was, for me mentally, like I said, I find the positive somewhere. We were 8-3. We still leading the division. Steelers are somewhere down at the bottom at the time, but and I viewed it that way. And I felt like, and also around that time frame, I was hoping for the Orioles to beat the Rangers, and I had those dueling things. When you're a huge fan of multiple teams, yeah, you're being pulled in different directions mentally and physically. So and then once the Orioles lost, I was kind of like, all right, shift my gears, fully focus on the Ravens. So now, like, again, when the Ravens lost, focus on the Orioles. So and hopefully the Orioles, believing in faith, I think this will be the Orioles year to get back, not just to win the AL East again, but to get into the World Series, because this team, like I said, it's a good young nuclear team. I love it. So
that'll be exciting for Baltimore.
Yes, Oriole Magic's back.
Yeah. Oh wow.
But the other element I think that we forget, because the doctor here said, when you're at the stadium. Now, I've also seen videos where fans are, as much as, mutual fans are liking each other, I'm seeing fans just fighting for no reason because, again, alcohol's involved.
Yeah.
In addition to your passion of the love of your team and stuff like that. I don't know how to remedy that with just a simple hug. Maybe, mind you, police force will come in and all that stuff. I mean, I give props to the guy who was being hazed at the Raiders game. I think he was a Patriot fan, and he was just being hazed and tormented and all that stuff. And everyone was booing him, yelling at him, and he just kept it cool. It was this woman who just chewed him out for no reason. Because he was just being a Patriots fan amongst, the black hole. And then like a couple weeks later, he's sitting next to Kraft in his skybox, so it's like, pretty much he based on, it's like, hey, I was in my zen. I was enjoying the game, but now you want to trash talk me, and look where I'm now, baby. Look at me. I'm with the owner. What are you doing?
That's pretty cool. That is cool.
So, but my point is the fact it's like, it's one thing being at your home, you can chill at your home, you can all that stuff. But at the stadium, it's another vibe, and I think it's going to be difficult.
Yeah,
because mentally, in addition with the alcohol you've consumed and stuff like that,
right?
And I felt like it's going to be really difficult to try to calm down.
True.
And keep in mind, this is just we're thinking like NFL fans. I have seen enough Premier League games to know how European fans act, and they're far worse than us. So, and I've heard a lot of issues, mental health issues, not just mental health, but physical health issues over on that side of the pond, to where most of these guys, again, the alcohol they consumed and other stuff before, during, and after the game, to the point where it is, again, it caused them, physical ailments. After just 1 week of one game, you're pretty much killing yourself.
Yeah, those fans also, I've noticed this. Our fans don't in for football. You don't see as many fans piling on negatively toward players, but there have been some incidents which are pretty disturbing in soccer, where you've seen the fans saying pretty negative, awful things to some of the players. And you don't really have our fans harassing players, where you've seen some of that. And it's had a racial element, I think some stories that have come up. But yeah, their fans, I would say, I think you make a great point about the live games, because I've actually never gone to see the Ravens at an away stadium. So I've only been in the majority of the Ravens. I one time had a Steelers fan. It was all Ravens people were in the lower section, and this one Steelers fan. So it's 40 and then him. And he was such a jerk. He came by himself, right? And this is the thing. So this was years ago, where the Ravens, they say the rules at the beginning of the game, and it's and Ray Lewis. It was Ray Rice. He was the one that would say the rules, and it would say, number 1, don't do this. Number 2, it's a lighthearted video. And the last, and he said, we go to away games, people come here, and the last rule was, don't be a jerk, right? So we're doing in the game. It's a tense game. You're not sure who's going to win. But this Steelers fan is running his mouth the whole time. and the Ravens fans in this section were pretty calm. They were just people go, no one say anything. And then finally, I really heard enough of him. I turned around and looked at him, and I was just telling him the rules of the game. I said, excuse me? Don't be a jerk. Because it was he was taunting people after each play. He wasn't cussing anybody out or anything. But he just looked at me and he said, I'm a jerk. I'm a jerk, like the song. Right. I said, you know what? And I just said, please let the Ravens win this game. And they did. So we can send this Steeler fan jerk on his way. Because the rule said, don't be a jerk. But he showed out. But there was everyone was calm in our section. No alcohol. No one wanted to fight him. But after I did say to him, don't be a jerk, I said it politely, just as though I was quoting the rules. I said, sir, don't be a jerk. Other players were thank you for saying. Other fans were thank you for saying something. Oh my gosh, she was getting on our nerves. But I think you're right. My rules of peace and equilibrium when I'm in my house, yeah, it's a little different. I think that the Patriots fan is a good example. The conflict doesn't bode well. Arguing with people about the game, if they're fans, it's hard to stay out of it, but there's no win with that. And if it's just focus on your thing, because getting agitated, and we've seen some really unfortunate incidents where it's been violence, and that's good. For what? At the end of the day, when it's all over, if you're the perpetrator, if you're the victim, right? What was the point of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost just to
the whole
disengage as much as possible.
Yeah, that I think that's. The whole purpose of going to any sporting event is to have a good time, enjoy your team,
right?
Seeing them play, seeing them live, if it's your first time or your 100th time, and things like that. You can discuss it with, like you said, in the end, find that buddy, discuss how things could have been better, could have been worse, and also have some fun conversations. But again, when you I'm like you. I've never gone to an opposing field, and if I did, I trust and believe I'll be this. Especially if I go to Pittsburgh, it will not be pretty. I know it will not be pretty. So, but anyway, since we're wrapping up, again, the main thing here is I think since you are coming back, and there's a lot of people who are like the Taylor Swift fans, you are new to this. You just came to see Taylor Swift. But if you're going to fully invest into this, keep in mind you are going into, especially with football, there's going to be a lot of, your heart is going to be a lot tighter, so to speak. It's going to be amped up and things like that. You're going to be feeling things that you would not fully feel, since you're going to be new to this. Taylor, I think, finally realized that, because seeing her being that extra passionate, that where she's not singing and performing in front of millions like she would normally do, but seeing somebody else that she likes and seeing him perform and scoring them like that, I think that was new for her. So, and I think that I give her credit for that. It's just like, normally you wouldn't see a celebrity lose it out, all that, because we never see Beyonce do that. Have I mean, unless they put her on camera 10,000 times, but we'll never know. But anyway, I just feel like this is a healthy aspect of everything. It's just after the game, just detox, find a friend, call a friend, watch something else, detox from this, learn what the team has done, and then just go on, because next week they'll play a game, or if you're into basketball, whatever, there'll be another game until the end of the season, stuff like that. So it's one thing to be fully invested in it, but don't put your whole heart and soul into it, because you may not survive from it. So that's my final thought on that.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I say, by all means, just enjoy it. Let's have fun. Enjoy it.
Yes, enjoy. So where can people find you, Miss Kanika? And also, I know you're available to be inspiring a whole bunch of other people. So where people can find you?
They can come to my website, www.konyka.tv. That's KONYKA.tv. You can find me there. You can find my books. You can message me. You can follow me on social. All the links are in there. So if you just go to Konyka.tv, the website, it'll come up. You'll see how you can work with me. If you want coaching, if you need to be in it to win it as a fan, we're going to shift into that power shift. If you're a woman and you have that walk of faith, and, this book is definitely for you. And I really do thank you, Brian, for the opportunity. Thank you for letting me talk about all my Ravens memories and bring out all my Ravens stuff, because Baby Reed's been in the closet, but now he's out. And, this was fun. And I'm ready to come back in a good mood and lead Ravens Nation and put together some outfits that'll make Taylor Swift jealous.
I think that's what we need. I think we need Baltimore needs it. We need our Taylor. So you'll be our new Taylor Swift. So
yes, and it's going to be a legion of us. It's going to be many of us showing up and having a good time.
Yes. Well, anyway, thank you, Kanika, for coming on, and thank you all for tuning here on No Filter Sports. We will see you next month, and be at peace, people. Namaste.
Namaste.